that our whole package is part of how we interface in the world. And that was, in a subtle way. And one other thing that I really found interesting too was actually when I left the session to the next session, I felt like in my dreams, and I was like replaying the session for, it was an intense little kind of cameo. And I was replaying it, and I just felt like I had probably done more out of the chair than in the chair, so to speak, which was kind of weird for a new experience, But it did, I don't know.
It does take that week for it to kind of settle, because you're kind of shaking everything up and looking at it all, and then it kind of cements itself each week, and you can start making something out of it. But yeah, the magic doesn't really happen until afterwards, I suppose. Immediately, a day or two afterwards, and then you start to notice a change.
So it's a kind of process that part of which happens during the session, but a large part of it happens in between sessions.
Yeah, it happens even when you're not thinking about it. You're still in the back of your mind. You're working out what was raised, and because the things you can lay out in the session are things you would never usually consider thinking about or talking openly about, or literally kind of laying out with somebody else. And when you do that, it's quite like a kind of it's difficult, and it shakes you up, and you leave feeling a bit like, whoa. And then but then over the next few days, you become familiar with those feelings you've rose up, and you they're so much more accepting of, and you feel much more honest with yourself, which gives you much more confidence to go back and carry on.
One thing that's interesting that's cropped up with all that has been said, is that in one way or another, all the different counsellors have raised your awareness of yourself, either by reflecting the words in your case. You said that you became aware that you wanted to talk about and talk more. And you said you were conscious of what was happening, and you were even conscious of whether you wanted to lie down or sit, and that's physical awareness.
Yeah.
That seemed a very kind of basic place to start.
Yeah.
And you talked about self-awareness as well. Did you find that with your first session?
Well, I was just really nervous because I didn't know how much I wanted to let someone else know about my own life. So I think I held back a lot, which is why my first counsellor didn't work for me, because she didn't push me to get any information out of me. But when I went for my first meeting with my second counsellor, through her talking more and sort of asking me more questions, I opened up a lot more and forgot most of what she said when I walked out. But over the next couple of days, I started going back to what had been said during our meeting.
I think I was looking for something different with the first session. I thought to myself, well, is this going to be what they say, a counselor? Somebody that comes and spiels out a lot of jargon to me and tells me what Freud said and what my dreams mean. But it didn't happen like that. And I actually noticed during the time that the person was listening to what I had to say. He was agreeing, and he was doing things that I didn't think a counselor would do, this particular individual would do. He smiled. He, made a joke with something. Oh, is that really going on for you? Gee, that's not too good, is it? We don't want that. And it felt good for me because it met my personality. But he also gave me things to think about. He would say, well, let me get this clear, let me get that clear. And when he did clarify things, it made me stop and think, is that how I'm coming across? Is that what you're seeing? Maybe I need to think about this. But I think if it had been someone else and not that particular individual, then I don't know. Because my idea would be the stereotype, lay on the sofa and listen to somebody while they took notes and they sprouted theorems to you or theories or whatever. But the thing is that it didn't happen like that. He was a human being as far as I was concerned, and therefore I could relate to him. And that's what I think I would have definitely needed. If I didn't have that the first go, I think I just would have walked away.